India's competitive exam system operates on a massive scale, and by 2026, the pressure surrounding exams like NEET, the gateway for medical aspirants, had become overwhelming. For millions of students, these tests are the only path to their future careers. That path was blocked when reports of widespread paper leaks and a lack of transparency surfaced. The very mechanisms designed to ensure a fair competition had failed, calling into question the validity of every student's preparation. The response from the student body was immediate. They demanded strict legal consequences for those who leaked the papers and a total overhaul of the exam infrastructure to prevent it from happening again. Students walked away from their classrooms and libraries. They made it clear that they would not return to their studies until the government provided a concrete plan for systemic reform and accountability. The frustration quickly moved to the capital. Thousands of students from across the country converged on Delhi, establishing a permanent protest camp at Jantar Mantar. The standoff intensified when the government failed to issue written assurances for reform. In response, a significant portion of the protesters began an indefinite hunger strike. The students' resolve drew support from influential figures. Social activist Sonam Wangchuk publicly joined their cause, lending his voice to the demand for a more reliable education system. With Wangchuk's endorsement, the movement shifted from a student grievance into a mainstream national issue. The visibility of the protest made it impossible for the government to maintain its silence. By July 20th, the continued lack of dialogue between the state and the students pushed the situation toward a violent conclusion. Police moved in to clear the site by force. The resulting clash involved the use of lathi charges and tear gas as authorities worked to forcibly disperse the gathered students. In the aftermath, the police defended the action as a necessary measure to maintain law and order, even as images of the crackdown began to circulate across the country. The images of the crackdown shifted the national focus. What began as a dispute over education policy had now become a volatile political crisis, putting the government's management of the situation under intense public scrutiny. The political opposition moved quickly. Rahul Gandhi, as leader of the opposition, used the momentum of the public outcry to demand formal answers from the government regarding the police action. The pressure reached the highest levels of the administration. The Home Ministry was forced into a defensive posture, publicly justifying the decision to clear Jantar Mantar, even as criticism mounted. At the center of the storm was Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan. While reports suggested he had previously offered to resign, he had remained in office as the primary target for student and opposition anger. By this point, keeping Pradhan in his post was no longer a sustainable option for the ruling party. His resignation became the necessary step to address the national uproar and begin de-escalating the crisis. The political pressure finally resulted in a change at the top. Dharmendra Pradhan officially stepped down as education minister. To restore a sense of order, the government appointed Prahlad Joshi to take over the ministry and oversee the reform process. Joshi's immediate agenda focuses on three key areas: a comprehensive review of the current exam system, new technical measures to prevent paper leaks, and the accelerated rollout of the national education policy. This reshuffle was a clear victory for the student movement. It proved that sustained public pressure and personal sacrifice could force a policy shift at the highest level of government. While the leadership in Delhi has changed, the reality for millions of students remains the same. They are still waiting for a system they can trust. The question remains whether changing the person in charge will actually fix the technical and administrative flaws that allowed the leaks to happen in the first place. What do you think is the most urgent reform needed in our education system? Tell us in the comments if you think this new leadership can win back the trust of the students. Accountability will ultimately be measured by the integrity of the next exam cycle, rather than the name on a minister's resignation letter.